So this is the deer in the wood, and there's some squirrels playing. This is another job, especially you boys would have to chop wood for the fire, because you would need lots of wood because you always would need to cook. And girls, you might be out gathering sticks for kindling, because if you've ever, but if you only had girls in your family, then girls, you would do a lot of these chores, and boys, you would have to do the girls' chores too. And back in the past, there were kind of some girl chores and some boy chores. And girls, you would also have to learn how to sew, because you would be expected to sew clothes when you were a grown-up mom. So you'd pick up sticks, chop wood. Oh, there's Pa playing his fiddle again. Remember how she lived? This is Laura's story. And what's happening here?
Sleeping.
What are they doing?
Sleeping.
They're not sleeping. What can you infer about this picture? Sewing. This is sewing, yeah. They're sewing. It says, it was autumn and the days were getting short and cold. A fire burned all day in the cook stove to keep the little house warm. Laura and Mary worked on their patchwork quilts in front of the fire. So what they did was they used little scraps of fabric and they would sew it together to make a blanket. Is that something they would need or want? Need, yeah. One night, Pa said that after supper he would go into the big woods to look for a deer. There had been no meat in the little house since spring, and it was time for Pa to go hunting again. Whoa, what would you eat if you didn't have meat? How many of you have meat for all of your meals? No, there is no meat. There is no deer. So what would you eat? Put your feet down, please. What would you eat if you couldn't have meat? No chicken, no beef, no pork, no nuggets, no fish. Blakely. Vegetables? Sadie? Nope, that's meat. So here's supper, guys. It's a bunch of corn and beans. Maybe some bread. Maybe some eggs. But no meat. No bacon, no burgers, no chicken nuggets. So they went to sleep. Notice Laura and Mary are sharing their bed. There's Pa. He's chopping wood to keep them warm while he's gone hunting. And Pa's talking to Laura. Ooh, look. There was no tree stand, but look at Pa. Climbed up in the tree to wait for a deer.
Oh, that's small.
He's looking for it. And he let it go.
Why?
And then he said that, I'll tell you why. He said, I let it go. He looked so strong and free and wild that I couldn't shoot him. I sat and looked at him until he ran off into the big woods. Then I remembered that Ma and my girls were waiting for me to bring home some meat for supper. So I made up my mind that the next time I saw a deer, I would shoot. After a long while a mother deer and baby fawn stepped into the moonlight, they stood there together looking out into the woods. Their large eyes were shining and soft. I just sat there looking at them until they walked away among the shadows. Then I climbed down from the tree and came home. And Laura said, I'm glad you didn't shoot them, Pa. But now they don't have any meat.
Now they can't
There's
eat.
Mom mending, and there they are. I think most of the time Pa shot the deer. He must have just been feeling like
Nice.
just kind of gentle and nice. Yep. But they had to have meat to eat. So I'm going to show you some other pictures. This is called Going Shopping, long ago and today. So this shows a picture of kind of a fancy mercantile. So what happened was, sometimes if you lived on a farm, you would gather up extra eggs that you didn't need to eat, and you would sell those to the mercantile. And then they would give you money, or they would give you stuff from the store that you cool. I'm gonna show you a couple. Here's another mercantile that you can see. And they have some canned goods and things that you could trade. And when you had money, you went to the mercantile. And here's a mercantile that has a stove in it. And these guys are taking a break and chatting about the weather and the news, I think.
I see.
So, here's something else. Do you know in the past, think about this question. Were there restaurants
No.
in Bluffton a long, long, long time ago when people first came here? Nope. So guess what? Your mom had to cook every single night. And there were no chicken nuggets. There were no cheeseburgers. Whatever your dad could catch. So, and maybe you would go fishing. And then they would cook over the fireplace, do you remember? But eventually, guess what? Eventually, somebody invented a stove so people didn't have to cook over the fireplace. And this is a miniature one of that. So, I'm going to walk around with it. These would open and you'd put the fire in there, and then you could cook in there. So the fire would burn and heat it up, and this is all metal, so you wouldn't want to touch it because it would burn you. And then they had metal pots that would go on here.
Metal pot.
Uh-huh. They would sit on the burners so that your ma could cook. Yep. So I think what I'm going to do is set it over here, and I'm going to call tables that can come and look. Check it out. I don't want you to touch it, but you can look at it,